All right. Welcome to the show. This is the Frankly Fantasy Football Podcast. We are your hosts, Frankie and Johnny. Welcome in, Frankie. Good to see you this week, brother.
Always good to see you, Johnny, baby. How's it going, man?
Good. I really was excited about kicking your ass in the mock draft that we did on Monday. It's always nice.
Your ass a little bit too, so.
Well, to be honest with you, I think Holly kicked both of our asses. She was impressive, man. She drafted a great team. She knew exactly what she was talking about. She was great. I loved it. And you know what? It was nice. It was nice to see that she actually does listen to us. She couldn't hide that because she was throwing shit. She was repeating shit that I had said in previous podcasts. And it brought a tear to my eye, man. It was beautiful. It was wonderful.
I love that Darren Waller steal there that she did. It was so fantastic. So
God,
good.
Damn it.
She teed
damn
up
her.
too.
She did. She knew exactly. And I saw her smile when I said, there's a guy I want to get later, and I'll see if he comes around. She knew she was taking him from me. Well played, Holly. It was great having you on. All right, hey, welcome to the show. We've got a great show for you guys today. We're going to be talking a little news and notes, and we're going to be getting into sleepers. We're going to be getting into what else? Values. We're going to be getting into breakouts. We're also going to talk a little bit about guys that are off of our boards. Absolutely gone. Skipping over these guys. Don't want them. Don't want to think about them. Yeah. But first, baby, we're going to get into a little Would You Rather.
Would you rather poke a stick up in your eye or eat a bag of shit? Sit up on a pineapple or throw it on her dick? I said, would you rather?
All right, Frankie, I need your help with this one, buddy. We talked about doing this because I need to know more about these guys. I think that it's getting really close to time. These guys had some question marks, but we need to dig a little deeper here. We're going to compare two players here. These are two running backs on very good teams with a little murky backfields here. We need some info from you, bro. All right, so the first, would you rather, what we're doing today, it's going to be Isiah Pacheco, running back for the Kansas City Chiefs, versus James Cook, running back for the Buffalo Bills. Frankie, why don't you break down some Isiah Pacheco for us, bud?
Yeah, I mean, what a phenomenal year he had last year, John. I mean, a 7th round pick, right? Going to the Chiefs, a 7th round pick, just repeating that. That's absurd to even say that. And what's fascinating with him this year, John, is his ADP is sitting at 73. He's the 29th running back right now off the board. And so when you think about drafting him, again, this is a value pick here, along with that of James Cook. But what you're getting from Isiah Pacheco is, number one, he's on the Chiefs. You love the Chiefs. You want a piece of that pie, right? Because you know it's going to be relevant from an offensive perspective. Here's what's interesting, though. He's still in a tough running back committee. Even though, yes, he is still the lead back, technically, he has been hurt, a little bit banged up this offseason. CEH is still there. And McKinnon re-signed a contract at the end of last year to be that predominant pass-catching role. And yet, even though towards the tail end, John, he did look really good, especially in that Super Bowl. He was a huge reason why they actually ended up winning that. And obviously, Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce did their thing. But very much so, they also relied on that of Pacheco to do his thing. So from a fantasy football perspective, John, Pacheco's really interesting because it's kind of like, okay, well, what's going to happen with this guy? Is he going to be healthy? Is he not going to be healthy? What's the running back situation going to look like heading into week 1, 2, and 3? So he's interesting. He's very interesting. I would love to know your thought on Pacheco.
It is confusing with Clyde Edwards-Helaire there. If it was just him and McKinnon, it would be a different story. But I think that's why he's difficult for people to draft, because anybody on the Chiefs other than Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce are difficult to draft because they just give everybody the ball. I do think that Pacheco did prove himself down the stretch and the end of last year. And I think he really did make Clyde Edwards-Helaire irrelevant to this team. And I'm surprised they didn't trade him, to be perfectly honest with you. Yeah, I mean, they will once they have to re-sign him. I mean, seems to be that's what the case is. But yeah, Pacheco, I love the fact he's going to have a ton of red zone opportunities. I mean, that's the big thing with both of these guys, actually. You know, with a team like that, with Patrick Mahomes, catching passes on the 1 yard line is not out of the question for him.
Right.
Running the ball between the tackles, he is going to be that guy. I really do like Isiah Pacheco. Creeping up on him slowly, slowly, but he's playing with the ones. He's getting the early carries in preseason, and yeah, I think he's going to be that guy. He's the safest bet to me when drafting a Chiefs running back. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think he's going to have the most volume. I think where he's going is a good spot in the draft. I don't want to pay too much for him because of that. But where you're taking him right now, I like it. I like the pick a lot.
And he's going in roughly, for those listening, ADP average draft position 73. He's going in that 7th, back half of 6th, early 8th kind of rounds.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, why don't you break down James Cook here for us? And let's see what we've got with James Cook.
So James Cook, on the other hand, is actually his average draft position, guys, is 76th, and he's the 31st running back off the board. And I think this is due to them bringing on board that of Damian Harris, which obviously he's going to eat into a bit of the goal line along with that of Josh Allen and then the way he runs the ball. But here's what's fascinating. James Cook is also in a wonderful situation on this offense. And the reason being is because even looking at last year, right, he actually averaged 5.3 yards a carry, which was 5th in the NFL. And here's the other thing. Devin Singletary is no longer there, right? He's now in Houston. But when he was there, Devin Singletary actually was 3rd among all backs in the NFL with 57% route participation. That's absurd when you're thinking about how many routes Devin Singletary went out for. And on top of that, Cook still had 27% as well. So guys, Cook still had a huge piece of that pie from a route participation. But if he can even take over, let's say, half of what Devin Singletary did, this dude is primed for a huge year from a receiving perspective, John. And so when we're really thinking about, right, would you rather, these guys are pretty much damn near back to back. Isiah Pacheco, the 29th running back versus that of James Cook being the 31st, ADP of Pacheco being the 73rd, as I mentioned, James Cook again being 76th. This is who you're going to be deciding between. And John, if I am here looking for if I'm doing a 0 RB strat, he's going to be my RB2, or if I'm not, he's probably going to be an RB3, maybe an RB4 at this point in time, depending how the draft unfolds. I am leaning James Cook. I think that there is much more upside here from the pass catching capability. I think he also is going to get a few more rushing attempts than what he actually had. And in addition, I like him because I don't think that Damian Harris coming on board is going to completely smash like all of his ability to run between the tackles. I still think that they're going to also rely on that of James Cook. So when I compare that to an Isiah Pacheco, to where, again, thinking half PPR or PPR here, his cap is, or his ceiling is capped because of his receiving issues there with McKinnon. And so Isiah Pacheco is going to be looked at as more of a pure thoroughbred type of runner with that of McKinnon. So for me, John, I am leaning that of James Cook.
I'm with you on that, man. I think it's James Cook all the way. As we were digging into this and looking more, I'm warming up a lot more to James Cook moving forward. I didn't know how they were going to utilize him. In my mind, James Cook was more of a satellite back. He was more of a Jerick McKinnon type running back.
Yep.
That's what I thought. I thought they were going to have a ground and pound guy, which they have Damian Harris. They've got Latavius Murray. I think one of those guys is going to get cut, by the way, and it might be Damian Harris. Yeah. I don't see those guys playing a lot, to be perfectly honest with you. They're giving James Cook, and maybe they're testing it in preseason to see if he can handle it, but they're giving him a lot of play, man. I mean, he right now is looking like a 3-down back, which if he's a 3-down back in Buffalo, the value's insane. And spoiler alert, I was going to put him as one of my breakouts. I mean, after looking through all of this, I was like, I can't do that because we're doing a would you rather. But I think he's going to have a breakout season. You know, for him to go at that point, and some of the guys that you're deciding, around, he's right there with Rachaad White, Isiah Pacheco, David Montgomery. Deshaun quarterbacks are there. Jordan Addison, George Pickens. Give me James Cook. Give me James Cook. The way that they're utilizing him and the opportunity he has, I don't know that he's going to get very much in the red zone as far as carries. That is a lot of Josh Allen's, territory. So I think that is a downside to him, but he might get enough volume to make it irrelevant. Yeah.
John, and you know who you kind of could remind me of? And again, we're going to hit on maybe this guy here, maybe not, but Alvin Kamara. a guy who's not scoring a lot of touchdowns, but is getting a lot of work, whether that's receiving or rushing. And so that's going to bolster his floor a bit more than that of, in my opinion, or excuse me, his ceiling a bit more than that of Isiah Pacheco. Even though he might not be scoring a lot, he's still getting the rock, right? The opportunity to do something with it.
All right. Looks like we agree. And James Cook is our winner of the Would You Rather. All right. I like it. Let's get to some news, baby.
Ooh.
The season your listeners don't expect. Flip out.
News and notes.
Okay, we finally have some answers on Jonathan Taylor. No, I'm just kidding. We don't know anything. It's even worse than what we thought.
What are you talking about, man?
Yeah. Breaking news. No breaking news. The Colts have granted Jonathan Taylor permission to seek a trade. This feels like a troll to me. Like, hey, go ahead. See what you can get for yourself. Oh, by the way, we want a first-round pick, and somebody's going to have to pay the extra money that you want. What are your thoughts here, man? I think it's just a dick move by Jim Irsay.
I think it's an absolutely asshole move, because in one breath he's literally coming out and saying the running back market's the running back market. We ended up doing the CBA. It is what it is. Kind of fuck off. And then the other hand, he's like, okay, guys, hey, if you want to trade, I'll take a first round pick for him. And it's just like, okay, well, if that's the value,
isn't that funny?
It's you know what I mean?
Yeah. It cracks me up. He's like, oh no, you're not worth it to us. We're not going to pay you. And it's like, oh yeah, we want a first round and then some. I mean, come on, man. I don't see teams doing it. No. They're not going to pay for him. So what does that mean for his future here? I mean, he's going to be a Colt, man. He's going to be a Colt.
It's funny you say that, because you know what I think? I think that there's a couple suitors out there that will pay for him. And I personally think that one team keeps coming to mind, and maybe I'm just overthinking this, but Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins, to me, make a lot of sense. And the reason being is because, are they really ready to ride into the sunset with Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson? Is that really what you're willing to do, knowing the AFC East is as beastly as it gets outside of the AFC North and the AFC West? I mean, I really don't see that with this type of caliber of a running back still out there. So that's up there. And another one, John, hot take, hot off the press, baby, Vikings. What happens if the Vikings had the opportunity to bring on this kind of cat? Now, again, I understand they have Alexander Mattison. And again, I understand that they're going to have to pay JJ coming up as well. So that's going to be factoring into quite a bit here. But both of those teams are in a window right now to where they can in their minds, they absolutely can make something happen. NFC North is up for grabs. No more Rodgers. Packers are a little bit down, right? Detroit's on their way up. Chicago's on their way up. Vikings are absolutely there. And then flip side of that, Miami, I mean, we see the AFC East, man. And what Tua was doing last year before he got hurt was absolutely borderline perfection from a QBR standpoint. And so now you layer in a guy like this at running back to pair with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, assuming they can make the commercials work. I think this could be very interesting. So it's going to depend, man. It's either he's going to be a Colt and figure it out, and which I don't think so. I really don't. I think he's going to go somewhere else, but it's going to be fascinating to see how this unfolds.
Sure is. Stay tuned for more drama. I'm sure we'll be talking about it next week as well. All right, let's talk about one of these other running backs we've been sitting out here in the wings, finally signed. We got Ezekiel Elliot has signed with the Patriots. I mean, it seems like a perfect match to me. This is exactly what the Patriots do. They take guys like this on the back end and the waning end of their career, revive them a little bit, give them a role in their offense. Is he going to be fantasy relevant, do you think, at all?
I do. I actually do, John. And I say that because he's active on the goal line reps. He's getting those reps. And that's what you and I talked about is because, Ramondre Stevenson, as good as he is, he's going to be the guy that's going to be pass catching. He's going to get quite a few carries as well. But when it comes to the goal line, I'm telling you, look at what they did with Damian Harris. Before Damian Harris got hurt, that was his role. And so I think that there is going to be somewhat of fantasy value there. So if you can snag him in your last round and just stash him for a bit and see how this unfolds, the first time he goes nuclear, man, I'm trading his ass.
I'm laughing because I just had an image in my head. I know how this is going to go. He's going to be the most annoying fantasy player ever. He's going to play 6 snaps and have 2 touchdowns.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's exactly what's going to happen.
Bring him in for those 1 yard. The guys who own Ramondre Stevenson, which I don't think this really affects Ramondre's value that much at all, but he's going to take some touchdowns from him. He is. Yeah. I mean, it could keep Ramondre out of double-digit touchdowns, and it's just going to be super fucking annoying. All right, let's see what happens there, though. I'm okay with taking a flyer with Zeke. You know, but it challenge is that, is this a guy you're going to be able to drop quickly? You know, I mean, it might just kind of be, I'm taking Zeke to see what happens. What if nothing happens in week 1? He's probably going to be your guy you're going to drop for waivers. So I don't know. I have to think that one over a little bit. Josh Jacobs. All right, this is positive news here, I think.
It is. Josh
Jacobs is expected to report to camp prior to the season. What does this do to the ADP for you? Where are you comfortable taking Josh Jacobs, assuming everything's right, that he is going to be showing up before the season?
Yeah. In a 14-man league, I'm okay with taking him in the back half of the first. I really believe that in a 10-man league, in a 12-man league, second round, I'm not wasting the first round pick on a guy where, you know what I mean, I can get him a couple picks, 6 picks later, 8 picks later, get your top receiver, get your other running back at that point in time. That's going to be a little bit more stable because who really knows what's going to happen? I personally think he's going to be fine. I don't think he's going to replicate what he did last year, John. I think that was, I don't want to say lightning in a bottle because Josh Jacobs is a very good running back. And so does obviously the players because he was ranked in the top 10 in the top 100 player ranking for the NFL Network. But yeah, man, I think probably, you know, around that second round pick or back half of that first if you're in a really deep league.
Yeah, I think he peaked last year. You know, you're drafting him at his ceiling, and it you know, it's still questionable. And you're hoping to God he's in great shape. I mean, obviously he missed all of camp and all of preseason. All right, we've got a couple of QB1s that have been named here, Frank. We've got Baker Mayfield, QB1 for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and Sam Howell, QB1 for the Washington Commanders. Speaking of the Washington Commanders, some not so good news right now. Terry McLaurin, he's going to be sidelined for a little while. He got hurt with some turf toe. That's not good. That's something that lingers. That worries me. Terry McLaurin, I already think had a capped ceiling. And you know, new QB out there with Sam Howell. I'm nervous drafting it. It almost takes Terry McLaurin off my board at this point because if he can't bring me immediate value with his safe floor, I don't think I'm really interested. What are you thinking about Terry McLaurin here?
I agree, John. I think that the turf toes, what people don't understand about turf toes, it's actually very painful. It's not just like a bullshit little, like you sprain your toe kind of thing. It's way worse than that. And so I think with him being sidelined already, I think with Dotson stepping up, I think with Curtis Samuel, they might try to like wean him back a bit. So when you're thinking about drafting a guy like Terry McLaurin, a lot of times if you're going running back early or maybe back-to-back running back or maybe a receiver and then a running back, a lot of times he's either going to be your receiver 1 or receiver 2. And at this point in time, I personally am not willing to take that risk knowing he's already this banged up. And in addition, on a team like that of Washington.
Agreed. JSN, Jackson Smith and Jigba is having wrist surgery. This is unfortunate.
Super important.
Yeah, really unfortunate. I mean, the guy's definitely a breakout candidate, a sleeper. He's a Buckeye. Rookie receiver drafted by the Seattle Seahawks. They're saying he may be back by week 1. That's just not great. You know, he's going to play mostly in the slot. I think getting him on the field is going to be a bit of a challenge anyway in 3 receiver sets. So yeah, it's rough. I mean, I'm moving him down my board a little bit, but not a whole lot. I mean, he's a guy I'm not expecting to go ape shit right off the bat. Anyway, he's a guy that, 4 or 5 games into the season is where I expect him to really hit his stride. So it doesn't really affect me too much with him. All right. Devon A-Chain is week to week right now with a shoulder injury. He got fucking body slammed.
He got slammed, dude. That was absolutely absurd.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. And that just goes to show, though, too. I mean, with the size, he gets slammed down to the ground. He hurts his shoulder, and he's week to week right now. I mean, that is the problem when you talk about a guy being undersized and worried about that as a running back. That's exactly why. Doesn't really change much. I'm kind of staying away from the backfield right now. I was high on A-Chain to, be good mid-season and towards the end of the season, to help withstand injuries with Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson. But I'm not really looking at taking a flyer on A-Chain at the moment. He's probably a guy that I'm going to look at waiver wire or maybe look to make a trade mid-season if he starts to get a little play. All right, let's get to, let's do some hype train, buddy. What do you think about that?
Let's do it.
Huh? All right, I'm going to show a few guys here. We're going to look at some action from the preseason games. And I want you to tell me, Frankie, if you're on that hype train or if you're fucking off that hype train. All right, let's see if I can do this without screwing things up too badly here. And all right, hang on here. We're going to share my screen while you're looking at that.
I was gonna say, I feel like I'm in a cauldron behind me, John. Like it's like Halloween ready. I gotta have some like pumpkin shit coming up. It's a little bit spooky, man. It's pretty wild with this background.
You do look a little spooky, Frank.
Ooh.
All right. Let's see what's going on here with Zay Flowers.
And there's Flowers, his second catch. Zay Flowers cuts and in for the touchdown. No flags.
So smooth.
Yeah. All right. What do you think, Frankie? You on the hype train with Zay Flowers or you off the hype train with Zay Flowers?
Well, if people listen to that rookie review, they would know that motherfucker moved up the board quite a bit for me, all the way up to that third spot. So, John, I love Zay Flowers. He's the real deal. People, if you do not know who he is Boston College leading all-time receiver in receiving yards and touchdowns, receiving touchdowns. This kid is the real deal. The Ravens got an absolute stud at this for this kid. I think he was 22nd overall or something like that in the first round this year. John, I am on this hype train, huge, and all about Zay Flowers, man.
All right, sounds good. So that, boom, you're on the hype train, baby. Blow that whistle. Let's go. Oh yeah. All right, let's get to another one here, Frank. This is a guy I don't think anybody is talking about right now. Let's see if I can bring you this one.
Oh, yeah.
There we go.
Dive behind him, and he goes to Spears, who has room and leaps over a Viking. That was pretty. 15-10-5 touchdown, Tennessee. 33-yard touchdown by Tajay Spears.
All right, Frank. Tajay Spears, man. He's the backup for Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
He just solidified that pretty much with that run.
Definitely.
Yeah. Is this a guy? I mean, Derrick Henry, I know I've been saying it. Listen, I've been saying this for 3 years.
Literally for 3 years.
I swear to God.
For 3 years.
Actually, for 3 years, I've been saying this is Derrick. This is the end of Derrick. This is the beginning of the end for Derrick Henry. Well, I feel like it's been going on for 20 years, man. I'm saying it again. You have to. Nobody has had more volume in the NFL consistently than Derrick Henry. It's bananas. Is Tajay Spears, this is a guy you can get for free. Is the backup. Is this a good handcuff? Is this somebody you want to have sitting on your bench? What do you think?
Absolutely a great handcuff. If you do not have Derrick Henry, this is one of those situations, John, to where if I have Derrick Henry, I am not going to be looking to waste a bench spot on Tajay Spears. And the reason being is because I'm hoping for a prayer at that point that something kind of happens to Derrick Henry for him to even be something. And when he comes in, he might not be that thing. And so for me, man, now if you were to draft him, or the listeners, if you're drafting him, guess what? I'm definitely going to be taking him as a flyer on that last round spot, or even try to get him as a free agent or something like that off the waiver wire after week 1 or 2. The reason being is because eventually he's going to see the field, and it's going to be from a pass catching perspective. He was very, very electric over there at Tulane when he was playing ball there. So for me, man, I do like Tajay Spears. I want to level set expectation here that I personally think Derrick Henry is going to be top 4 in rushing yards again. And I also think that if Derrick Henry gets hurt, for me, I don't know how I 100% feel with Tajay Spears taking over that lead role 100%. It would be more along the lines of me getting him cheap as a handcuff, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So you're on the hype train, though.
I'm on the hype train. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm hopping on. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. On the hype train. I like it. All right. All right. Let's get to the next one here. Ooh, another Pittsburgh Steelers one. Let's
here we
go, baby. Let's go.
He was a Pro Bowl in Jacksonville. 80 receptions, 1,400 yards, and 14 touchdowns. Jalen Warren with a nice block by Deontay Johnson. Warren turning on his speed, trying to get away from the defense. Jared Boyer can't get him. Jordan Porter, 63 yards on the run by Jalen Warren. What
All right, man. Jalen Warren. Backing up Najee Harris at Pittsburgh. He's got some juice, man. I mean, that was a beautiful run. He turned on the Jets at the end. What do you think?
I'm hopping on that hype train. I actually think, John, there are aspects of Jalen Warren that are better than Najee Harris. And I know that sounds crazy, but it truly, I know I mentioned this a few episodes ago. He reminds me of Eckler when Melvin Gordon was still at the Chargers. And like, it's just like you see this guy that almost shouldn't be this good for whatever reason. Maybe it's perception, maybe it's size, maybe whatever it is. And he is this good. He actually is very fucking good. And so for me, man, I love this dude. He's actually, if I'm talking about a handcuff, he's a guy that I would actually put over Tajay Spear as I'm trying to get that handcuff for Najee. Now, again, you're paying a little bit more for him, right? This is a guy you're definitely going to have to draft, especially in those larger leagues, 12-man, 14-man, 16-man for you crazies out there that are doing those. But this is definitely a guy, John, that I'm hopping on that hype train.
All right. I like it. I'm on the hype train too with him, man. You know I love him.
Oh, yeah.
All right, let's get to another one here. Oh, man, really?
Another Steeler. God.
Another Steelers. Oh, God, I hate it. All right, let's do it.
up, look out, Pickett over the middle, trying for the end zone, and it's a touchdown. 25 yards to Pat Freiermuth.
Please don't bring back the dab. I pick it to Firemouth, man. What do you think?
I am pseudo on the hype train. And what I mean by that is I'm thinking about this in fantasy football terms. I don't think Pat Freiermuth is going to be, a top 5 tight end. I just don't see that being the thing. But what I do see him being is absolutely a top 10 tight end. And so it's interesting, right? When we're talking about hype train, it's like a guy that I can really, really get behind, that I feel super, super big about. I'm not sure that I'm that hyped up for Pat Freiermuth, but I'm like, I kind of like him. You know what I mean? I'm going to draft him for value. I'm not going to be drooling over him. Like if Jalen Warren was still there and at a specific round, I'm definitely going to be drooling over to take him. So yeah, I would kind of say like I'm one toe in, one toe off. Can I do that? I don't know.
You can do that. That's kind of half train, half screech.
No, that was perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
A treach? Can we do that?
A treach, a whistle screech. All right, let's check out another one here before we go completely off the rails. Well, we got our boy here, man. Let's check him out. Let's bring him out.
Out of the stable, man.
Takes the handoff. Deshaun Robinson. His first carry is a first down.
All right, now listen. I know that wasn't a touchdown, but that was his first carry as an Atlanta Falcon. You got to see a little shiftiness there. I think he looks great. What are you thinking? I know you're on that. Stop.
Yeah, everybody's on the hype train.
Stop it. We're all on the hype train, man.
Yeah, he's fantastic. Let's go. Bring him on.
Let's go. Bring him on. All right. Let's get to, let's talk first. I want to start with the negativity and then we can get to the positivity. Okay. Let's talk about guys just briefly. Just a quick, this is the guy, this is why. He's off my board. Frankie, who's off your board? Just give me a handful of guys here. You're saying as you go through the draft, you're looking at him and you're like, no, I'm not drafting this guy. I'm taking somebody else. Or if it's a running back, no, I'm going receiver here instead because I just don't like this guy. Who don't you want on your team?
I do not want, I'm just going to list them quickly, John. And so I do not want Breece Hall. I'm not going to be targeting Kenneth Walker. I'm also not going to be targeting Tyler Lockett. I also will not have Rondale Moore on my team. And Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, I am not targeting. Now, every single one of those have a caveat, right? If they're seriously fall down the board and you got to take them, you got to take them. I'm saying at their actual ADP, I am not willing to take these guys at this point in time.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. Breece Hall, he still sits there in, third, fourth round. I mean, it's just,
nope.
I can't do that. I can't take somebody at that cost, knowing now, especially that they have Dalvin Cook, they can go even slower bringing Breece Hall back. And I just don't like that at all. Kenneth Walker, why are you nervous there?
I just think he's been banged up. I think he's been banged up, and I truly see Zach Charbonnet and DJ Dallas even look decent when he got some play. And we've seen DJ Dallas be that pass catching role, but Zach Charbonnet, you don't draft a guy in the second round for him not to play. So for me, I'm trying not to look at 50-50 backfields.
Okay. Rondale Moore, I get it. I don't really want anything to do with the Arizona Cardinals if I can help it anyway. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, is that a Baker Mayfield problem?
It is. It's a Baker Mayfield problem. It's a new quarterback problem. It's the unknown. And again, if they were to fall, John, and for listeners out there and viewers, of course you're going to take them if they fall like a couple rounds. But again, I'm talking ADP. It's not really somebody I'm targeting. I think that you can get a bit more better value or a bit higher floor at that type of ADP than what Mike Evans or Chris Godwin could provide.
All right, you got a little bit of splaining to do, and I'll tell you why later. But Tyler Lockett, completely off your board. What did Tyler Lockett ever do to you, man? I don't get it.
So you know what? Fuck Tyler Lockett. Okay. No, I love the guy. Actually, he's an awesome human, or he seems that way. But for me, John, I'm not vibing with Tyler Lockett. And again, part of it is due to Jackson Smith and Jigba. Again, with him being banged up, it changes things just a tad. But let's assume JSN is playing. Jackson Smith and Jigba is able to play, maybe not week 1, let's say week 2. I think that Tyler Lockett then goes down significantly in his touches. And yes, I know you're going to talk about him potentially not, but I really think that I am staying away because I don't know if Geno Smith can support 3 legitimate receivers. Again, completely understanding Jackson Smith and Jigba right now is hurt, but putting us in the mind frame, if he is available, that is my fear there, when you can actually get a few others at that specific ADP.
Okay, well, we can agree to disagree here, and I will make the case to try to change your mind later in the show.
Fuck you. Okay.
All right, guys off my board completely, and some of these are bangers, man. These are first and second round guys. A couple of these guys, Derrick Henry's off my board. I know we just talked about it, and I say it every year, but he's off my board, man. I mean, just where he's going, I'm not taking, and it's not because I don't like Derrick Henry.
It's okay to hate him.
I don't hate him. I love the Yeti. He's amazing. Okay, King Henry. I love the guy. But when it comes to the draft and I'm looking at guys around him, I'm not drafting him. I'm not taking a guy who's had that much work on him. I'm taking one of the younger guys. You know, when you're looking at running backs, I'll take Saquon. I'll take Chubb. I'll take Bijan. I'll take Tony Pollard over Derrick Henry all day long. It's just a guy that, or I'll flip and go to a receiver. He's just a guy that I can't pay that much for him any longer. Jonathan Taylor, completely off my board. I don't care if he stays in fucking Indy. He was going to be questionable even if there wasn't an issue. He's just off my board. I'm just not dealing with it. If he falls to me in, say, the third round, sure. I'll go for him in the third round. But I just don't see that's going to happen. A couple other guys, Damian Harris, he may not even make this team. I pass over his name every single time. And Michael Pittman Jr., I hate shitting on the Colts. I live in Fort Wayne, for fuck's sake, but I just don't see the value. I don't see where it's going to come from. There's not going to be enough passing volume with Anthony Richardson, which I am high on Anthony Richardson, but it doesn't mean I'm high on his pass catchers. I'm high on him because of his legs mostly. But Michael Pittman's just never going to be on any of my teams this year, and it's also due to cost. All right, Frankie, let's get to sleepers. It's sleepy time. Sleepy time, baby. All right, when we're talking about sleepers, just so everyone knows what the definition we're going by for sleeper is, basically anything past round 10 and higher than that. So these are guys that, going later in your draft, guys you can pick up towards the end, and guys that you're hoping to catch a little lightning in a bottle, see if they've got some juice left. All right, Frankie, who is your first sleeper we're going to talk about here?
My first sleeper is going to be the great Adam Thielen. This guy is being drafted right now. His ADP is 142. He's receiver 54. 54, guys. He's basically going undrafted at this point, especially in a 10-man league. But what's interesting to me, John, about Adam Thielen, number one, the Panthers have the 6th easiest schedule in the NFL for receivers. Beautiful. Number two, he's the clear-cut number one option in Carolina at this point in time from a receiving perspective. And then in addition, seeing what's transpired over the preseason so far, and again, I get it, right? We can't feed too much into the preseason, but their offensive line is getting mauled. Okay, that's just what I'm seeing. So what I am projecting in my head right now is they're going to be down more times than not. Okay, in terms of the score. So they're going to have to figure out a way to throw the ball. And so with them being down, with them going to have to throw the ball, I see Adam Thielen being a nice cozy blanket for the rookie quarterback and Bryce Young. That's why I think Adam Thielen could be a super sneaky sleeper that, again, guys, he's 142, average draft position 142. That's ridiculous, right? That's borderline undrafted. I think it could be interesting.
All right. I like it. I'm not going to argue with you. I'm just going to let you say your piece about him. I'm not a Thielen guy. I am not hooked on a Thielen. I can say that right now. That's all right. All right. Let's get to my first sleeper here.
Yeah.
We just saw a video of him, man. It's Jaylen Warren. Listen, I'm really liking this guy. This was not a high athletic profile guy. He beat out Benny Snell and Anthony McFarland for the second running back role. Those guys were drafted way higher than Jaylen Warren was. Just not a guy who had giant draft capital.
Jaylen Warren was undrafted too.
Undrafted. There you go. I mean, he came in and worked his way and hustled his way into this job. And he's one of those guys that everybody loves. He comes out, burst of speed, and just kicks ass and does a great job. Right now, he's running back number 52. His ADP is 149. He's free. He's in that handcuff role. He's 5'8", 215 pounds. So he's, short, stocky guy. 4.9 yards a carry last year. And yeah, in that role, he gets to come in when there's, the running draws. And I'm not taking too much into that. They're not expecting a run. They're expecting a pass. And he comes in on a 3rd and 22 and gets a draw up the middle for 15 yards, whatever. But Jaylen Warren, listen, this guy, what I'm seeing right now and what's starting to materialize, it's starting to remind me of Tony Pollard with Zeke a couple of years ago. And then even further back than that, when you're looking at Austin Eckler and Melvin Gordon, it's starting to feel like that kind of backfield this year. And I think you're seeing a lot more with the Pittsburgh Steelers. They used to be, you have one guy, you stick with that guy, and he's a 3-down back and does it all. They're not doing that any longer. They're giving guys who have the talent. Talent always rises. Work always rises to the top in this league. And you've got a very young team here with Kenny Pickett throwing to George Pickens. You've got Jaylen Warren coming out of the backfield. I just think that I don't think he's going to surpass Najee. Najee is not immune to injury by any means, which would just boost Jaylen Warren up like you wouldn't believe. But I think there's going to be weeks and times with a good matchup that Jaylen Warren's going to have standalone value, and he could be a guy that you could put in your flex. I do think they're going to be working him in more and more. He caught a lot of passes last year. He really did cut into Najee Harris's pass work last year. I think he had like 35 catches out of the backfield. So I'm really high on him. Again, it's a sleeper. I'm not saying draft him, start him. I'm saying this is a guy who could develop over the course of the year of getting maybe 25% of the carries out of that backfield. And those could be valuable touches. All right, Frank, who is your next sleeper, baby?
My next sleeper is going to be another running back. It's going to be Samaje Perine, right? His ADP is 104. He's running back 39. He is absolutely the clear-cut number 2 behind that of Javonte. Now, here's the thing. With this type of guy, he is a huge handcuff. This is one that if I am drafting Javonte, I am willing to draft Samaje as well, right? It's a little bit different for me because if something were to happen to Javonte, we've seen him already be hurt last year. Obviously, he's working his way back, but like Samaje Perine, when he had the opportunity last year, John, from weeks 11 to 13, he averaged, this is insane, 24 fantasy points a game when he was that lead back. And so, yes, it was dispelled out of Joe Mixon when he was out. But what I'm saying is this guy has the ability to actually provide value immediately. It's not like you have to wait for Javonte to get hurt. It's like, oh my God, they're in a passing situation. Here comes Samaje Perine. This is that James White. This is that guy that's even bigger than James White. That's almost a better runner in a sense from a running back perspective. So I really like Samaje Perine. He's a guy that I am definitely going to be targeting, and not just from a sleeper perspective, but also just in general. I really, really like this guy.
I agree with you, Frankie. I'm really warming up to Samaje Perine here. I see it. I don't see him as a handcuff at all. I think it might be a 1A, 1B situation. Yeah. I mean, Samaje ran every single third down with the ones in the preseason.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, he's their third down guy, man. And I think that I think, well, first of all, they're going to have to be careful with Javonte Williams. He screwed up 3 different ligaments in his knee, and this is not a simple knee injury that he had. And the fact that he's even practicing and on the field right now is incredible. So not just for that handcuff role, he's going to be in there. This is going to be very much, they like to run a lot of running back. If they could bring a third guy in and run them, I think they would. They just like that rotation. They like keeping a fresh guy. We saw it before with Javonte and Melvin Gordon. I think we're going to see something very, very similar with Samaje Perine as well.
And John, to that point, guys, remember Sean Payton is now the head coach. So Sean Payton, what he did with Kamara is he had that bolstered bigger back that was running between the tackles, that was doing that, right? We saw it with Mark Ingram. We saw it with Latavius Murray, right? We saw it with a few others. And now you have, right, that of the same difference and that of Javonte with that of Samaje. I really think this could be interesting. And I'm excited. I'm actually excited about this backfield to see what happens here.
All right. Let's get to my next sleeper. I did a Steelers guy. Now I'm doing a Browns guy. Let's go, man. Listen, this is a guy I'm grabbing towards the end of all of my drafts. I love it, man. And obviously, I'm a Browns fan, so I'm really digging in to see what this team looks like. Elijah Moore, wide receiver for the Cleveland Browns. All right, let's talk about Elijah Moore here. Very interesting and, rocky start to his NFL career. Elijah Moore right now, he's the 48th receiver off the board. His ADP is being drafted at 111. All right, listen, Elijah Moore was the 34th overall pick in the 2021 draft. High draft capital, 23 years old. He's got 4.35 speed. I mean, listen, he's had a rocky start. Came on, a lot of draft capital. He went to the Jets, shit quarterback. He was very unhappy in that locker room, very unhappy with the shitty quarterback play. Just did not get along with that team. He's given a new start. I think it was a great trade. They needed to get him out of there. He could have just rotted and died in New York, right? The way things were going. So this guy's a very, very good player with a ton of juice. Bringing him into Cleveland. He doesn't have to be a wide receiver 1. You got Amari Cooper. You got Donovan Peoples-Jones. He's living most of his life in the slot. They're also doing crazy things with him. Why I like him is that he's not just relegated to the slot position and 3 wide. He's also, they're running reverses with him. They're running him out of the backfield with Chubb. That's very interesting as well. They're doing interesting things. I see him very much as that Jarvis Landry role from a couple of years ago, except he's 23 years old instead of Jarvis is 33, I think at the time, Yeah. So put a faster, younger, stronger, bigger receiver in that Jarvis Landry role. I really, really like that. And at his price, you really can't go wrong. So Elijah Moore, you're one of my sleepers, baby.
John, and I love that too. One of the guys, you brought up a really good comparison, a younger type of Jarvis. You know what I'm thinking about? I'm thinking old school Percy Harvin, the guy, the receiver that was doing some things in the backfield, that was doing reverses, that was throwing the ball, that was, even doing some returning. I like that. I like that pick, man.
I love it too. Thanks, man. All right, let's get to a couple of breakouts. All right, now how we define a breakout. This is a guy that could be in any round, really, but a breakout is a guy that is going to, in next year's draft, move up a couple of rounds. So you're getting him at a discount this year, and you're looking at him breaking out and going in a higher round or an earlier round next year. These are the guys, if you're in keeper leagues, these are the guys you want to look at, that these could be targeted. These could be your keepers. This could be a guy you get in the 7th round, and next year he ends up being a second or third round draft pick. And, you end up keeping him and getting that value. So, Frankie, when you're looking at breakouts here, who is your first breakout?
John, my first breakout is actually going to be Rachaad White. He's the running back for that of Tampa Bay. His ADP is 71. He's running back number 26. But here's what's fascinating about Rachaad White. He had Lenny Fournette that was ahead of him on the depth chart most of the season last year, and yet he still averaged 11 fantasy points a game. In addition, here's what's absolutely absurd. With Leonard Fournette there, he still had 50 receptions last year, which equated to 11th overall for all of running backs. So I think that he is primed with nobody behind him pretty much, with a quarterback controversy at this point in time. Yeah, Baker's starting. Kyle Trask is right behind him. He is going to be, number one, the outlet guy. And number two, they're going to rely on him, right? With the offensive line starting to get healthy again, right? Last year was a shit show with everybody being hurt on that offensive line. Now with them slowly getting healthy, I think that they're going to run the nuts off this guy, and on top of it, be that outlet dude. So I think he is primed for an interesting breakout season.
All right. I like that. I like that a lot. All right, let's get to my first breakout. Listen, I've been talking about this guy quite a bit. I'm talking about Zay Flowers, wide receiver for the Baltimore Ravens, rookie wide receiver. All right, right now he's the wide receiver 45. His ADP is 102. So you're able to get him and 9th, 10th round, that sleeper range, really. But he's been slowly crawling up into the draft boards here because, you can't stop. We just, we're playing clips of him on the podcast. He's showing out in camp, really trying to make a run for that wide receiver 1. Baltimore needs a wide receiver 1 desperately. They've got Rashad Bateman and they've got Odell Beckham Jr. Now, their number one target is going to be Mark Andrews all day long, but they need a receiver to step up to the plate. Rashad Bateman's just impossible to stay on the field. The guy's a talented receiver, but we haven't seen a ton of it just because the guy's hurt, and he's just still coming off of an injury right now. So I can't put all of my money behind Rashad Bateman. Odell Beckham Jr. is Odell Beckham Jr. and not exactly the pillar of health or, a good locker room guy for that matter. We've seen what can happen as Browns fans. We've seen it firsthand what can happen with OBJ. I think Zay Flowers, with the amount of attention he's been getting, he's the 3rd wide receiver taken in the draft in the 1st round, high draft capital. They've got a new offensive coordinator with Todd Monken. They're certainly, under his offense, going to pass a lot more. That's what we've been hearing. Lamar Jackson's high on my list. I'm targeting him in drafts, and I love grabbing Zay Flowers towards the end of the draft to pair up with him. All right, Frank, who else you got on your breakouts?
Yeah, so my second breakout is going to be Khalil Herbert, right? This guy's ADP is 94. And he's the starting running back in Chicago right now. He's running back number 35. And here's the reason why I think he's primed for an absolute breakout, John. Last year, he averaged 5.7 yards a carry. David Montgomery, who is the starting back, averaged 4. Okay, that's absurd. That's why they traded him. Okay, in addition, here's another fun fact. Khalil Herbert ran for 70 fewer yards than that of David Montgomery on 72 less carries. That's absurd. Think about what I said. Rushed for 70 fewer yards on 72 fewer carries. So what this is telling me is, number one, all these defenses are going to be keying on that of Justin Fields, running the ball. Obviously, Justin Fields has been working on throwing heavily this year. They bring in DJ Moore. This is all priming for that of Khalil Herbert. Yes, they brought in Deontay Foreman. Yes, they have Roshan Johnson, the other running backs there. But as of right now, think about it like this. This is his job to lose. And I don't foresee Khalil Herbert losing this. And where you can grab him. I keep going back to that ADP being 94, John. That's crazy for a potential number one running back on a team. And you mentioned that in the mock draft episode this past week. Like, it's crazy, right? So for me, man, he's primed for a breakout.
I almost every single mock draft, I was telling you this earlier, I almost always end up with Khalil Herbert because I get to that round and I'm sitting here going, he's still here. I'm going to take this guy. And you look at the guys around him, you look at Khalil Herbert. This is a starting running back for the Bears, a run-first team. Yeah, it's a no-brainer to me, man. I hope he doesn't climb in the draft. I hope his ADP stays right where it is because I'm taking him in every draft that I possibly can.
Take him first.
All right, let's get to my last breakout here. And unfortunately, I don't have a picture for it. Johnny's screwing up the technology once again for those watching on YouTube. But my final breakout is Jahan Dotson. I've been high on him this year already, and now the news with Terry McLaurin with the turf toe. I like Jahan Dotson even more. Right now, he's the wide receiver 38. His ADP is climbing to 85. You're getting him in a really nice spot right around that 7th round. You're drafting him as a wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4. To have Jahan Dotson in your flex or wide receiver 4 is fantastic. He was the 16th overall pick in 2022, high draft capital, 34 targets in his final 5 weeks. Terry McLaurin had 34 targets. Jahan Dotson had 35 targets. Think about that in the last 5 weeks of last season. So we did see him start to make that turn into being a wide receiver 1 on this team, if not a 1A, 1B situation. He did miss 6 games last year, but with the new OC, with Eric Bieniemy coming in there, this team, is going to have a much, much better offense. You've got Sam Howell throwing him the ball with Eric Bieniemy calling the plays. I like it. I think he's absolutely due for a 100% breakout. All right, Frankie, let's get to some value players here. So as we're going through the draft, doing the mock drafts, you constantly see guys where you're like, why is this guy sitting here? Why is he so low? And it's just a great value. So we've picked a couple of guys here to talk about that we see as great values in the draft as of today. Frankie, who's your first value?
My first value, John, is Alvin Kamara. Guys, I mean, his ADP is 67. He's the running back 28. Last year, he ended the season with over 1,000 yards rushing, a shit ton of yards receiving. I think it was over 400 or 500 or around that point in time. And he's still only, should I say, he had only 4 total touchdowns. Where did he end up? Running back 16. Guys, right now he's being drafted anywhere between the 5th and the 7th round. That's absurd to me from a value perspective, right? That means that you can go running back 1st round, receiver 2nd round, running back 3rd round if you want, whatever it may be, and pick Alvin Kamara up in the 5th or 6th. Guys, when he comes back from his suspension, that's why he's being drafted so low, or should I say, so high up in the rounds, because of his suspension. Yeah, he's gone three games, but imagine him as your 3rd running back. Imagine him as being able to plug him in your flex. So for the value there, for me, John, I love this guy because if he's there in the 5th or 6th round, I'm telling you right now, I'm taking him. Because when we talk about value, John, I love how you phrased it. Guys, I'm thinking about where he's going to be next year. He absolutely, if I'm taking him in the 5th or 6th this year, he absolutely next year could be in that 2nd round. 3rd round. Shit, we've seen him in the 1st round for the last 4 years pretty much. So that's why I really think that there's a lot of value this year for Alvin Kamara.
I love it, man. I mean, you are a guy who is not risk averse. I mean, you see the talent, you see the guy at a value. I know nobody's on him. He's suspended 3 games, but it doesn't matter. It's where you're taking him and what you can get out of that draft pick. I mean, this is a guy who's perennial been a 1st round pick up until last season, really, Yeah, I like it. I can't hate you for it, Frank. I like it a lot. All right, let's go to my first value guy. It's Mike Williams. This is a guy, listen, I can't believe that he's going as low as he is. I mean, you know what it is? Listen, both of my values here are kind of older guys. And I know what it is. I fall victim to it myself. You see all of this new hotness. We know who Mike Williams is. You know, you see all this new hotness. You got these young guys coming in and they're fast as fuck and they're flying all over the field. Listen, Mike Williams is still there. He's still doing what he does. Everything in Los Angeles for the Chargers here, the arrow's pointing up. They had a very disappointing season last year. They, you know, were hyped up to make a Super Bowl run potentially. They had a lot of injuries, man. I mean, guys were hurt. But Mike Williams has been very consistent. I mean, last year, he only played 13 games. I mean, that was the big issue. Before that, he played 16, 15, 15, 16. So, I mean, he hasn't really missed games much until last season. But, you know, last year, he was the wide receiver 32. And he played 13 games. So this year he's going as the wide receiver 28. He's basically going at what he did last year in 13 games. All right, give this guy, and maybe that's baked into the ADP that people are expecting him to get hurt. I don't know why. Historically, you may have a feeling that he does get hurt. Historically, he doesn't. He played 16 games a year before, 15, 15, 16. So I just think people are sleeping on Mike Williams. The year before in 2021, he was a wide receiver 12. You know, so tell me what has changed exactly to make him less than that. You've got a healthy Justin Herbert. Nothing else really has changed. They did bring in a rookie, Quentin Johnston. Yeah. He's not going to tear into Mike Williams' time. You know, he might be another target out there and slowly work his way in, but he's not going to eat into Mike Williams' time where Mike Williams lives there. So I just don't see that happening. Last year, he only had 4 touchdowns. The year before, he had 9. Those are going to go up. But yeah, there's nothing I see that's, you know, he almost had 1,000 yards last year in 13 games. The year before that, 1,200 yards, 800 and over 1,000 a year before that. So I just think he's extremely safe. I think he's extremely solid. I think he's being disrespected at his ADP. This is a guy who finished a wide receiver 1 the year prior, bringing in the new offensive coordinator, Kellen Moore, who threw more than any other offensive coordinator in the league last year, bringing that into this Los Angeles Chargers team. I love it, man. People keep sleeping on Mike Williams. I'll just keep snatching him right up. All right, Frank, who else do you have here on your values?
Yeah, John. So my last value guy, and I'm honestly excited as shit. I don't care if he's a Steeler or not. I'm targeting him, is George Pickens. This dude continues just to ball out. He's just good. He's just a good freaking receiver, man. His ADP is 83. He's receiver 33. And looking back last year as a rookie, guys, and not even as the number 1 in half PPR, he had 141 fantasy points. He ended up having 84 targets, 52 receptions, 800 yards, and his yards per catch, John, were 15.4. This dude in his second year has the ability to really put his stamp on this organization. And I get Deontay Johnson's there. I get Freiermuth is there. But I'm telling you, man, Pickett to Pickens is a real thing. P to P, baby, and it's going to happen. And especially with his value, John, I just think that, guys, he could end up exploding. He could really be an excellent flex. But more than that, I think he could actually evolve into a receiver too.
I love it. I mean, we saw some videos already before. I mean, this must be the Steelers episode, by the way. It makes me sick. God,
puke.
Me too. But you know what? I'm really liking these young Steelers, man. They're good.
They're fun to watch too.
They are. You know, these goddamn guys. They're so good at drafting. Their organization is just so well run. You see the Steelers and the Ravens, you know, we're talking about all these guys and these rookies, and they just do such a good job of drafting, you know?
And developing.
God, it pisses me off. And developing players. Absolutely. Yeah. All right, let's get the Steeler off the screen here. All right, let's get to my last value, Frankie. And I left this one for last because, you know, I was a little upset when I saw the show notes. And
a little nerve there, huh?
This is one of my values, one of my guys here, man. And you're saying he's off your fucking board. So
gone.
He's gone. Okay, let's talk about him right now. I'm going to see if I can change your mind. Tyler Lockett, wide receiver for the Seattle Seahawks. Look at that. I had to get a picture. He's just saying, "Fuck you, Frank." That's what he's doing right now.
Picture too. That's
right? You like that picture?
That's
I
good.
like that.
I like it.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me tell you a little secret here. Well, first of all, Tyler Lockett, he's the wide receiver 29. His ADP is 69. So Mike Williams, Tyler Lockett, they're going back to back. They're right there. Let me tell you a little fun fact about Tyler Lockett, Frankie. He's going as wide receiver 29 this year. And last year, do you know what he ended up? Do you know what he finished?
What? Talk to me.
Wide receiver 13.
Ooh.
Yeah. What exactly has changed? Oh, they have a new quarterback this year. That's right. No. They've got Geno Smith. Oh, they've got a new offensive coordinator. No, they don't. Listen, not hardly anything's changed for this guy. Yes, they brought in Jackson Smith and Jigba. Jackson Smith and Jigba plays out of the slot, and he's going to most of the time. And he's also banged up right now. Tyler Lockett will play the slot. He'll play outside. Going through, looking through all of the stats here, most of his work was done in the outside. He really didn't score any touchdowns from the slot. So looking at that, because I was worried, I said, oh man, is JSN going to take a lot of touches away from him? He's going to eat into both of those guys. JSN's going to get some. He's going to be worked in slowly. But Tyler Lockett has been living and breathing on this team and doing well. Let me tell you some weird things here that I didn't know about Tyler Lockett until I started looking into him. Okay, we've got 7 years in a row playing 15 plus games. The past 6 years in a row, he played 16 games. He is also, this is the craziest thing right here. 5 seasons in a row with over 1,000 yards and 8 touchdowns.
It's pretty good.
Did you catch that? 5 seasons in a row with 1,000 yards and 8 touchdowns, Frank. Why is this guy being drafted and disrespected where he is? He's being drafted as the wide receiver 29. Last year, he was 13. Listen, man, this guy is going to eat. Yes, he's getting older, but I don't think the end is nigh for Tyler Lockett. I think he's going to continue doing what he was doing.
Here's my
pillar of consistency, Frank. Pillar of consistency.
Here's my question with Tyler Lockett. Can Geno Smith continue to do what Geno Smith did last year? Is that something that or was that a flash in the pan? Because history would tell you that was a flash in the pan based on Geno Smith's track record. So that's why he's off my board is truly because when JSN's going to be healthy, DK's there. And you're right. I mean, let's call a spade a spade. Tyler Lockett has been the Mike Evans of consistency, right? Multiple 1,000-yard seasons in a row. He's had 8 touchdowns, as you mentioned, in a row, 5 years in a row. So yeah, I get it. But it sounds like you're taking the gamble on Geno Smith being what he did last year and not looking at the historical Geno Smith. Is that correct?
It is correct. I have no reason to believe Geno Smith's going to do anything differently than what he did last year. It wasn't like all of a sudden, he had a 5-game streak and then took a shit. This was consistent throughout the season. There wasn't any slip in the game at all. So I don't see any reason for it. I think he's in the right place at the right time with the right group of people. And that group of people has only gotten better. They added JSN. They added Zach Charbonnet in the backfield. So they got a little younger. I see nothing but good things. Their offensive line
is great. Their offensive line is great.
Yeah. So I just don't see it. Yes, I do believe Geno Smith will do it again. I mean, Geno Smith was a QB1 last year, and he possibly could be again this year. Yeah. All right. That is sleepers, breakouts, values, and get the fuck off my board for today.
Get on. Get gone, boy.
Right. Get gone, baby. Get gone. Thank you guys so much for watching. We really enjoyed doing this. Hey, we've got some great episodes coming up. We're so close here. Yeah, we're going to have a mock draft on Monday, like we always do. I think 1 or 2 more of those left, and that's it. And then next week's episode, it's our champions episode. Are you ready for that, Frankie?
Oh, yeah. Ring that bell. Bring out that goblet of fire. We're coming out hot.
Who's going to be my champions this year? All right, I love it. Thank you so much for watching and for listening. Don't forget you can follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Frankly Fantasy Football, on X and Twitter, Frankly Fantasy F. And don't forget, please watch the show. We've got great graphics. We'll do goofy videos. We'll do some videos of guys of footage from the actual games as well. Follow us on YouTube and subscribe. Frankly Fantasy Football. Frankie, any last parting words for us?
We love you all. We love you all. Thank you for joining, subscribing, and listening. Get ready for an awesome, jam-packed few next episodes where I'm drooling over it, John.
You drool anyway. I was going to tell you that. A little bit of drool right there.
A little bit of problem.
May the fantasy gods smile upon you. Bye.